Welcome to this brand new episode of Cast It to the King. I'm your host, Joshua Mickle, and we are going to get right down to it with today's show with many topics to discuss, both a lot of entertainment stuff, a lot of sports stuff to get into, and something that dropped down the news pipeline over the last weekend is this. We have had word on since, I want to say, 2016 to 2017 about Mel Gibson returning to the Hebrew world, returning to the Passion of the Christ world with some sort of follow-up sequel with Jim Caviezel, and they have reported a sequel that was going to happen after Hacksaw Ridge. There was rumblings of a bidding war of who's going to take over the distribution of said film because, if you remember, in 2004, the film was not picked up by a big major studio. It was an independent film, and it still is, adjusted for inflation, the highest R-rated grossing film of all time. Not adjusting for inflation. Deadpool and Wolverine blows it out of the water. And so it surprised me over the last weekend because we finally get word on this. We finally get update on what's going to be going down with this film called The Resurrection of the Christ. And that is this. We have a distributor now for this film. This film and the previous film beforehand with Icon Productions has a home at Lionsgate. Lionsgate has won over the bidding war, and it will be the arm that will outstretch itself to putting this film out in theaters sometime next year, supposedly in early 2026. You want to talk about a film that was levied, one of the many films you can go down the rabbit hole of, faith-based film that has been levied against studios. That has been levied towards studios, and they have rejected them. And then either it gets picked up by someone else and makes a lot of money, and the studio that rejected it beforehand is just kicking themselves of what did we just miss out on? Because one great example of that is The Prince of Egypt was originally supposed to be a Disney film. Go into a rabbit hole of that back and forth is that the folks behind it were so fervent of making it that they went out of their way and made their own studio that is DreamWorks today. That studio was riding on the success of The Prince of Egypt. Now, because of scheduling and animation and different forms of backdoor studio politics, DreamWorks' first film, Ants, was the one to crack the film theaters first before Prince of Egypt did. But the Prince of Egypt, for that one, was the first one down the pipeline, and that was the film that was riding that studio. And as you can see today, DreamWorks Animation, DreamWorks Studios as a whole, is a resounding success in Hollywood. Turn out films like Shrek, Kung Fu Panda, and many, many others. Guilty Pleasure Megamind is another one that they turn out. Because of that one film, they have a grandstanding studio today. Another film to think about here. Sound of Freedom came out a few years ago. That film was originally put together by 20th Century Fox before the merger and the purchase from Walt Disney Studios. Once that was done and complete, this was a film done in 2018, 2019. And Disney put it on the shelf. It was done. It was ready to be released. They didn't know what to do with it. They didn't know whether to release it still under the new 20th Century Studios banner and risk alienating a particular, in their view, alienating a particular crowd view, or, in some cases, why not sell it off to the highest bidder? And this little studios, Angel Studios, that got their foot in the door of entertainment with the Chosen series. Now there's a whole other backdoor, like rabbit hole thing of Angel Studios, a part of it, no longer a part of it with the seasons going forward. But they were initially a part of that. They bought the rights to distribute that film. Because of that film now released, well, that was in either 2013 or I want to say it was 2013 that film came out. That film made hand over fist money because not only did it make up for the difference of for the purchase costs for the distribution to get away from Disney, but also have it within your own arsenal. And because of that film's success, Angel Studios has a plethora of films that they're turning out for their studio. Lionsgate has now just been the unofficial home for Christian faith-based films. Jesus Revolution is one of the big examples of such film. Another one I believe was done by DreamWorks is the Jeremy Camp film. I still believe. Not a big fan of these like God's Not Dead movies because they're like so on the nose, like Christian movie type bad. Like it's just not a good movie. And then you have films like I Still Believe and I Can Only Imagine. I believe both of them were in fact done by Lionsgate, if I'm not mistaken. And both have been really well received and really well made. And now Lionsgate, studios that has given us the Hunger Games, the studio that has given us John Wick, now has up its arsenal this behemoth of a titan with The Passion of the Christ, and now the upcoming sequel, The Resurrection of the Christ. So long story short, with all that, now, just to get the crux of this, for folks wondering, wait, didn't we see Jesus rise from the dead at the end of Passion? Yes, we did. What are you going to tell the story of with the resurrection if it's already been told in the first movie, in the supposed end of the first movie? There is two things going on, two theories going around about this potential sequel. You have theory number one is that it's going to be the 40 days of Jesus around before he ascends to heaven, after he's risen from the dead. Theory number two, and this is the popular theory going around here, is that based off the Apostles' Creed and many other Christian theology and some Christian verses in the Bible, this movie is going to take place during the 3 days of Jesus' descension into hell. I believe it's called the Howling of Hell. I believe the technical term is called. If I'm pronouncing this correctly, the harrowing of hell, essentially, to free the captives, to take the keys from Satan, and all that stuff. That is going for that to be I think that's going to be the thing that's going to happen. We know a few lines of that in the Bible. How do you tell 2.5 hours of that into a movie? Because the depiction of Satan alone in the Passion of the Christ movie is one of very creativity from on the director's point of view, and then also very divisive. And that's one of the many reasons why the first movie in 2004 was so divisive in the first place, is that it split not only average moviegoers but also the Christian community of is this what we want to champion and be the quintessential version of the telling of the crucifixion? And my point of view on that is that with the particular iterations that we've had retold and told again of the whippings, the nailings, the torture, and all that stuff. Passion and Mel Gibson, I believe, did it best, because one of the verses in the Bible that just stand out to me is that he was like beat up and tortured up so badly that you cannot recognize the man. You could not recognize him being Jesus to the everyday common folk. Like, just this photo right here alone compared to what it was before any of that goes down right here. And so, like, for some of the community of Christian believers to be, and you can find articles online with this saying, it says so in the Bible. And then there's some Christian theologists that say, Jesus didn't go to hell. Like, that did not happen. No, he was raised from the dead. Yeah, he was raised from the dead, but what happened in between that? I mean, it's something that's going to be definitely intriguing to watch, and I think it's going to be one that many, many people are going to be going out to see. The first film made over at least $600 million worldwide off of a $30 million budget, if I'm not mistaken. And that was with no studio backing. That was with hardly any marketing. So you take away the cut that the studios would normally get for distribution. That went straight to Mel Gibson's company, essentially. And then the only thing that you had to take away from that profit is the share of the time the theaters take in. That is why, one of the reasons why it's still, for adjusted for inflation, the highest grossing R-rated film of all time. Because it's a lot of money put up against a small budget that didn't have too many hands on it in terms of who gets a share of what. But this film, according to Deadline and many Hollywood outlets, is that this film now has Lionsgate as the distributor of this film, and the filming of this film is supposedly starting in late summer this year for a release date of 2026. This film I have been waiting for this thing since 2017 when we first heard word about this, when Mel Gibson put this on a radar just before and after Hacksaw Ridge, and that film was really good. And one of the recent films that Mel Gibson did for Lionsgate, Flight Risk. I have not seen the movie. They were impressed with that movie, and it was well received as well for that film. So let Mel Gibson cook. He knows this world, and it looks like it's going to be a really, really interesting few moments to dive back into this Christian world that he's created. All right, with that down, we're going to move on to our two sports sections, and that's this right here. The schedule release is here. The Titans have the schedule release, and it is official. We are going to go through a buzzsaw in September, a major buzzsaw in September, and the first two games versus Denver and the Rams. Good luck, Cam Ward. So good luck to him indeed. In terms of win-loss predictions per se, this team can go as high as 10-7. This team can go as worse as 5-12. I think this team's going to be around the middle of 8-9 and 9-8. If I had to guess, this team's going to have growing pains, obviously. But I expect Cam Ward to do some of the simplest things for this offense to keep this offense afloat that Will Levis and company will probably throw it away compared to last season and the year before, essentially. So that's that. But in terms of this particular topic right here, there are no primetime games in the Titans' schedule this year. That could change with some of the flex. Just to be clear, that could change with a flexing of the schedule with one of the games going down the stretch, and especially Week 17, where they don't announce the timings of that schedule until the week before. So there's a possibility that Titans could sneak in one primetime game to close out the year. Another thing is that this is a major topic right here, is that the NFL representative that does the scheduling he got so much pushback online that he had to come out and explain himself as to why the Titans, in my opinion, vehemently and disgustingly don't have one primetime game this year. They had a throwaway primetime game last year versus Miami. They won. Yes, it was ugly, but we all knew that was a throwaway game because that was the lesser of the Monday night games. That wasn't the one that Troy Aikman and Buck were doing. They're doing a New York game. Oh, and by the way, the whole representative, his reasoning of, you don't draft to primetime games. You don't draft your way to get primetime games. First off, the Giants had the 3rd overall pick. They have at least 3 last I checked. At least 2. Now, you can't draft your way to a primetime game. You can't draft your way up there. You have to win. All right. Before we get to the whole drafted part, let's get to the winning part. The Cowboys have about 5 to 6 primetime games, and yet they are a laughingstock in the NFL. I understand why the Cowboys get primetime games because of Jerry freaking Jones. We know that's the reason. But to say, you got to win as well. The Cowboys haven't won squat. Anyways, number 2, for him to say, you don't draft your way to primetime games. Not since Cam Newton. You look at all of the first-round drafted quarterbacks since Cam Newton. Every single one of them, after Cam Newton was drafted, had at least one primetime game. One. Since Joe Burrow, you can look it up. Since Joe Burrow, at least 2 primetime games. Not since Cam Newton has a first overall pick, rookie quarterback, not gotten primetime games. Not. So that excuse goes out of the water, in my opinion. If you're going to say the Titans have been inconsistent the last few years and they have not looked very appealing for primetime, understandably so, and I agree with you. I agree with you with that statement if you were to make that. But that's not the statement that this guy chose to make, and he chose to take the statement that can be ridiculed and picked apart with facts online. To say you can't draft your way, that's false. The last few quarterbacks, especially in the last 5 years, have gotten primetime games. You can't win your way to... you have to win your way to primetime games. The Steelers and the Cowboys get primetime games up the wazoo. I think the Steelers have like 4 or 5 this year. Who's their quarterback? You expect it's Aaron Rodgers. Are you really going to jot out there 5 times Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson as your quarterback for primetime? Are you really going to make that argument, NFL? Are you really going to do that? I don't think so. One of those games is guaranteed going to be flex if Aaron Rodgers is not the quarterback this year. And I hope it's one of us so you can just stick it up, you know what, with your thought process of how you think it. And that being said, the Browns don't have a primetime game this year, and they have Shedeur Sanders on the roster. What the actual heck are we doing here? Shedeur Sanders is on the roster, and they don't have one game. Split that game like the Titans and the Browns play each other this year. Have that game like in week 10, week 12, where Shedeur will definitely be playing by then. Shedeur versus Cam Ward. Primetime. Make it the lesser of the primetime games. Make it a Thursday night game if you wanted to. And both of those teams can duke it out like that. But no, the NFL chose to go this route. And they are... I think this is just one of the situations where they fell face first into a pile of cow poop right now. They fell face first, and their reason and their logic behind it is ridiculous. But in terms of this particular topic right now, is that for the NFL to say about the Titans specifically is that you can't draft your way to primetime games. That is false. That has not been a thing since 2011. Since the 2011 season or 2012 season. I want to say it was 2011. That was the 2011 season when Cam Newton was selected first overall. Since then, there's been a highlight on multiple first overall picks. Joe Burrow, Bryce Young, Caleb Williams last year. The second game out of the gate was Caleb Williams primetime Sunday Night Football versus the Texans. That right there. Just one example for you right there. Oh, and they got a Thanksgiving game. That counts as primetime. That's at least 2 right there for Caleb Williams last year. That's at least 2. Oh, yeah, that's right. They had a Thursday night game with the Seahawks, lest I forget. That's 3 right there. That was later on in the year. That's 3. Need I go on? The last first overall pick had at least 3 off the top of my head primetime games. Again, if you are the NFL representative and you came out here and you said the Tennessee Titans, at least since 2022 on, rightfully so because we've been squat since the 2022 season. If you were to say since 22 up to now, they have not been appealing, they have not been good enough to watch on TV for isolated primetime games for the national audience to see, they need to improve their play on the field. Okay, we can all live with that because that is 1,000% correct. That is 1,000% correct. But the logic they used is not correct, and it needs to be corrected by them. And we here at Casted to the King and others online will continue to point out that hypocrisy right there. But in terms of the schedule, there was a rumbling that the Saints were going to be a week 1 matchup. And too bad it wasn't because that was going to be one of my friend's birthday, and we were literally about to book tickets and have that weekend set and go to Nashville for the weekend and take off of work. But unfortunately, that game's not until the end of the year. So if we go, it's going to be cold. It's going to be really cold outside if we go. Anywho, with that down, this is how stoked I am about my Titans, man. Oh, by the way, before we move on, let me go ahead and just say, for the record, NFL, you greedy sons of guns out there, Fanatics, Nike, you are greedy and you are ridiculous with your pricing for jerseys. Try to find a stitched, authentic jersey. Oh, yeah, we have it right here. You can pay for the grand total of over $350 million. $350 million for the elite jersey. Oh, you want a value one? Here's a $69 to $150 to $200 one that's heat pressed, and the numbers peel off when you wash them, and they are not good over time. So screw the consumer over that. So I remember getting a Kevin Byard jersey at the team store back in 2018 when there was a job fair in Nashville so many years ago. Took the long drive from Suffolk, Virginia, Hampton Roads to Nashville from 3 a.m. and I got there at 1 p.m. That day. The next day was the jobs fair. And, long story short, the jobs fair turned out to be nothing for me, but I at least wanted to get there myself and show how dedicated and how much I want like a potential job there at Nissan Stadium and for the Titans at the time. And so as I'm exiting out of the building, I notice like the team store's open. I'm like, okay. And we had the new jerseys unveiled that year, like a few months before. So I'm looking at a Marcus Mariota jersey. I'm looking at a number 31 Kevin Byard jersey. It's not authentic per se, like technically, but it is great quality, stitched, embroidered, or whatever the word is. It's stitched on really well. Like the numbering and the logos and the name is stitched onto the jersey. And the price was $65. $65. That Kevin Byard jersey, I picked, wonderful investment for me. And so when we picked Cam Ward, and when he went number 1 and got number 1, the number unretired from Warren Moon, I had my jersey ready. And no, I did not get it from NFL.com. You greedy, you know what? Right here. Cam Ward, number 1 jersey. Right here. Stitched gloriousness. I'm going to see if we can try to get the edge of that number right there. It's like like a close-up of this right here. Stitched gloriousness right there. There's the back. Here's the front. Like great quality, extra large. Just all of that right there. Turned over every stone, every heel, turned over everything I could to try to find that jersey. And I paid, with shipping and handling, about $70 for that thing. It did not cost me an arm and a leg, and I didn't have to sell my own kidney to buy a piece of clothing. Did not have to waste money and buy a piece of clothing. Because God forbid if Cam Ward is a bust. I didn't want to like watch him on TV and then I have his jersey paying over almost $400 for. By the time it probably will be $400 for shipping and handling. And like I'm just glad. Yeah, found this online. The only complaint I would say about this is that you see right here the shading of the sword on this particular one. And yes, for those that may be wondering, yes, Josh, you bought a knockoff. I don't freaking care if it's a knockoff or not. It's better than what some of the NFL shirts or like jerseys have online. And if the only complaint, and I agree with some of them, is that the sorting shading right here is darker than what it's supposed to be. It's darker than what it's supposed to be. But this side is pretty much spot on, like the silver of the sword of the shoulder right here. If that is the only issue of like, oh, it's not the right type of gray, I can live with that because the rest of it's really good. And if I had it with me, and I'm not going to waste my time getting up and getting it, having like side by side my Cam Ward jersey and my Kevin Byard jersey, you would have think if you didn't look at the shoulder part, you would have thought they were the same thing. You would have thought it was the same thing. And so that's my rant on that versus the NFL and Nike. I mean, you wonder why so many fans. You wonder why fans can't buy stuff these days because they're freakishly expensive. Oh, you make these things in China, by the way, Nike. So a whole another topic right there is that you make these for cents and then you charge hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars for jerseys and shoes. Absolutely ridiculous. That's a whole nother topic, and I'm not going to get into that today. We don't have time for that. Anywho, with that down, let's get into this, shall we? The brand new trailer for Superman, the new DCU launches Technically, it's already launched with Creature Commandos and other outlets for DC Studios. But the first official film, Superman, the first trailer dropped online, and it looks really good. I compared the first trailer to the Force Awakens first trailer, first teaser trailer that they put out. And this trailer, I would say it's not as good as that second, like the official trailer for The Force Awakens, but it's close. It's really close of how good this trailer is. And so from there, I think, and the latest numbers to come out is that this film is projected anywhere between $140 and $175 million opening weekend. If that is the case, then they have got to be popping bottles over at Warner Brothers and the newly formed DC Studios with James Gunn running the show. Because the budget for this film, if I'm not mistaken, is less than $200 million. If you can make your budget back on the opening weekend, you're popping champagne bottles. Like 9 times out of 10, if you make back your budget, like if you make back on your opening weekend domestically what it costs you to make the movie, you're popping bottles, because soon after that, you're going to cross the threshold where you eventually are making a profit because the theater takes their cut and the distributors and whatnot take their share of the cuts of the movie. To where when you're looking at a film's budget, like for a good example, if you're on Wikipedia, and yes, you can use Wikipedia for this. If you look at Wikipedia and you scroll down to the budget number, times that by 2, and that is essentially what the film needs to make in order to break even and make a profit on a movie. I think this film can easily make over $400 million. This film easily can. I think the marketing for this thing has been brilliant. The marketing for this film has been awesome, to say the least. And it's getting folks that aren't really good DC fans or Marvel fanboys. I guess I consider myself a Marvel fanboy, I guess. But I mean, I like the DC side of characters. They just need to make good movies. And this is going to be one heck of an opening for sure. If this film, though, here's the double-edged sword to all this here. If this film comes out and before that it's reviewed by the critics and fans that this film is a grand slam out of the park, like home run, this film may flirt, I think, with close to $180-190 million. I think you're asking too much, and I think you're being greedy if you're saying this film can make $200 million. I think that's being too greedy right there. I think if this film is spectacularly good, this film's going to easily cross the 165 threshold, and you're talking about, can this film land in the 175, the 185, 190 range opening weekend? If this film is like Batman versus Superman, this film could have a big opening weekend, but it won't have the legs to get you the big magic numbers that you want for a film. Batman vs. Superman, back in 2015-16, when that film was supposed to come out, you had Superman and Batman for the first time on the Cinemax screen together. And everyone was saying, easy $1 billion films. Easy $1 billion films. It's going to easily make $1 billion. It didn't even make $900 million. It didn't even make $1 billion. And that's with also Wonder Woman in the film as well. You had the Trinity, and the film didn't make money. I mean, it didn't make the magic number. There are some folks that say, oh, it's going to make $2 billion. No, like, in what world? In what world like that? This film has a lot riding on it for sure. This is the start of a brand new cinematic universe. And James Gunn, from all the marketing, from everything we've seen with Superman, has his finger on the pulse of the moviegoers. He's showing the right things. The tone is light, but it also has some dark tones to it. It's not color graded to match the tone of the movie with what Zack Snyder did creatively. It is not that at all. And it's going to be an interesting next few months what the marketing is going to be what the marketing is going to be looking like. All right. With that down, we're going to roll into this next sports topic right here. And it's a doozy. The Grizzlies got bounced out of the playoffs. Shocker. Lost 0-4. Should have went 1-4. And if Parker, if you're watching this, you said you'd be shocked if the Grizzlies ever had a lead in the series or lost by single digits. Well, we had the lead in games 3 and 4 at home. And game 3, which was happening simultaneously with the draft, when I was live streaming, when I got done live streaming that thing, I was watching that game like a hawk, and I'm like, what just happened? You pull a Clippers? Give up 30-plus points? That's what the Clippers do back in the day. This is not what the Grizzlies do. Apparently the Grizzlies do it now, today. We can come back from 30 points from a few games. We don't throw away 30-point leads. What the heck happened here? And it happened. Ja Morant goes down with an injury. And for every single one out there that wants to say, oh, Ja Morant, he's going to be traded in the offseason. Ja Morant, he's on the hot seat. He's not going to be in Memphis for long. The GM and the owner have essentially said to the press and to the fans, over their dead bodies, over my cold clutch hands, are you getting Ja Morant? Ja Morant is the face of the franchise, and he is the most valuable player on our team. And the playoffs proved that. For everyone out there that said, Jaren Jackson deserves a supermax. He deserves double pay of Ja Morant. He's the face of the franchise. Okay. Bring it back for me for a second. Okay. Ja Morant goes down. Okay, Jaren Jackson. The ball's in your court. Ja's out. The offense is about you. You don't have to worry about sharing the ball with Ja Morant now. You don't have to worry about that. You go out and be the superstar that you claim to be. Go out and be the supermax player that you claim to be. And what happens? What happens with Jaren Jackson Jr. in this series? Bricks after brick after brick after brick after freaking brick of shot selection and shot making. The dude cannot shoot to save his life when it matters. He can put it up in the regular season, but come playoff time, he disappears. Come playoff time, he wants the limelight. He wants the spotlight. Where's Jaren Jackson? Where'd he go? I have a name for you now. Jaren Brixton Jr. Jaren Brixton Jr. That is your new name with me from now on, because you cannot make shots. And if you come into this free agency, and I am going to be so appalled and so devastated as a Grizzlies fan if Zach Kleiman and the owner here give in to Jaren's demands. If our ownership and GM gives that man double Ja Morant money, they've lost their minds. They have lost their minds. That money can go towards somewhere else that can give you the same type of production on the court for cheap. Jaren Jackson Jr. is not Anthony Davis money. He is not Karl Anthony Towns money. He's not even Julius Randle money right now. Not even that. He does not deserve the money. He deserves to be paid, but not that kind of money. Not that kind of money. Are you insane? Have you lost your minds? The Grizzlies can easily plug in Brendan Clark, even though he's an injury-prone player, sign someone off the streets, or Santi Almondama to fill in the void of Jaren Jackson Jr. if we decide to trade him. And we're going to get into that. And I think we might trade him this offseason if a particular rumor turns out to be true. What do the Grizzlies need to do to get over their playoff hump? First things first. Zach Edey, our center that we drafted in the top 10, has been crickets, and the dude has been lifeless on the court for some games. There are some games where he's getting Shaquille O'Neal numbers of rebounds and blocks. And then the follow-ups, he's gone. Where'd he go? Like, where did Edey go? He just disappears. The dude is as tall as Wembanyama, and the dude does not utilize his height like he should. The dude is 7'3", if I'm not mistaken. Get up there and block shots. Get those rebounds night in and night out. The center position, ever since the injuries that plagued us with Steven Adams, and the Houston Rockets are learning this the hard way, because that's why we got rid of Steven Adams and Dillon Brooks. Congratulations, Houston. You're in the same place we are, on the couch in the second round. No wins for you in the first round. You're in the same place we are. So welcome to the couch with us, with Dillon Brooks and Steven Adams. We are in the same place with the Grizzlies, with Steven Adams' injury, that we failed to address the center spot that particular offseason, and then Adams was out for the year. We were screwed. We choose to play power forward Xavier Tillmans of the world at the center spot, even though he's a power forward in schemes. We get Zach Edey because he can fill in that Steven Adams role. There's a little bit of a spark with Edey after Taylor Jenkins got fired, but it wasn't consistent enough. So 2 things this offseason for the Grizzlies. 2 things. We need to find out who the heck is going to be our center next year. And number 2, and this one has been plaguing us for as long as I can remember being alive as a Grizzlies fan. We need an elite wingman. We have not had one since the last legit one with Rudy Gay. And he was average. He was decently good. Since then, the grit and grind team needed a wingman to make the finals during those early 2010 days of the grit and grind era. If we had a legit wingman, the Grizzlies are easily in the finals, going up against the Miami Heat and LeBron James Heat teams all those years ago. We need to figure out who's our freaking wingman. We know our depth now with backup point guard and shooting guard. Thank you, Los Angeles Lakers, yet again. I will continue to say thank you for giving us Scottie Pippen Jr. for free. Thank you. I will continue to say thank you for free. For free. Yeah, for free. There is a rumbling rumor out there that Giannis wants to be traded out of Milwaukee. And that the first initial places were, put him with the Warriors, put him with the Heat, put him with the Mavericks. They have the first overall pick. By the way, how in the world do the Mavericks have the first overall pick after trading away their superstar player and Luka Doncic? How do you have, with 1.6% chance odds, you get the first overall pick? Never have I seen anything that looked so rigged in my entire life. That beside the fact, though, Giannis could go. He could go to the Warriors. He could go to the Spurs. They can trade away the second overall pick for him and draft picks and whatnot. He could go to the Mavericks with Kyrie, Klay Thompson, and let's duke it out in Dallas. Send them the number 1 overall pick in Milwaukee. And then Giannis put out there, either himself or through representatives, that he's interested in playing in a state with no state income tax. Now, if you look at that dwindles the teams astronomically. Take out New York for obvious reasons. Take out California with all those LA teams and Sacramento and Golden State teams for obvious reasons. You're left with those Texas teams, San Antonio, Houston, and Dallas. You have the Florida teams. And then sitting in there's the Tennessee team in Memphis. Tennessee also has a no state income tax. If we can package Jaren Jackson Jr. and Zach Kleiman finally giving us the trade that we've been waiting for, that he's been trying to pull off, failing to do, if he can pull this off by finally including in his trade package a quote-unquote star skill player from our roster, in this case being Jaren Jackson Jr., send him to the Bucks. Send the next 5 years of odd years, like the next 3 to 4 years of draft picks and draft swaps. Per the NBA rules, send them unprotected picks and then send them pick swaps for 4 straight years to start out the conversation. Send them that. Throw in there Luke Kennard, or throw in there some Zach. Says I want to see him go. Huff, the Huff man. Also another freebie from the Lakers. Throw Huff in there, and you get a potential trio of Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now you're cooking. Now you're cooking something in Memphis. And I know, it's not the popular thing. Like, Memphis is never going to get star players. This is the only way to get star players in Memphis. You either have to, this is the sad reality about our team. You either have to draft them or you have to trade for them, because you're going to have a tough time signing folks here to come play for you. Because it's Memphis. It's not Nashville. Like, if this was Nashville, then maybe this is a different story. But you're in Memphis right now. And you got a small market to sell yourself on. The good news in this particular situation, Giannis is already in a small market in Milwaukee. And yes, Milwaukee is a small market, boys and girls. That's just a fact. Giannis has experience in the small market, and and I didn't notice this comment until my friend Parker Van Blaricom shared it on his X timeline a year or so ago about Giannis. Asking about, could Ja Morant win a championship in Memphis? And I think this was coming off the heels of him winning the championship with the Bucks, and he essentially said, there's no reason to believe Ja Morant couldn't do it in Memphis. Why can't he do it in Memphis? Just because just because it's a small market, doesn't mean you can't win a championship. You don't need to win a championship based off of how many superstars you have around you and how much money is around. Yes, money is a factor, but how much money you have to throw around, and also the city you play in terms of getting a championship brought to that town and brought to that team. Milwaukee proved that. Giannis proved that years ago in the 21 and the I think it was the 2020-2021 season or 21-22 season that it happened for them. This upcoming next few months is going to define the Grizzlies offseason and the season. because we did not go out there and test the waters of particular coaches. We decided to stay with the coach in-house. That was our interim head coach. And we will see what happens from here in terms of what they do this offseason. All right, and before we get into that, we're going to introduce this next. We're going to introduce this next segment on the show, and we're going to keep it going to expose the hypocrisy of the NBA. We're going to call this the Wink and Bang. And today's subject in the Wink and Bang, for those that are wondering, what is the Wink and Bang? This is now a new segment we are dishing out because the NBA seems to have an issue when Ja Morant does this on screen, an on-court celebration with finger gestures and guns and whatnot. Has issues with him doing it. Oh, is he serious about playing? Like, is he going to get kicked out of the NBA? Bunch of BS, if you ask me. Now, the whole thing with the whole gun thing, Buddy Hield, he received a warning as well. He did it the next game. He was not fined. LeBron did it a few games there. He was not fined. A couple Warriors players did it. They were not fined. Austin Reeves of the Lakers on their Instagram, you can look at it, doing this towards a Warriors player on an Instagram photo, not fined or suspended. So our latest victim, or someone that's getting away with the wink and the bang, is one Miles Turner of the Indiana Pacers versus the Cleveland Cavaliers in their walk-off game to clinch a spot in the conference finals. And thus we have this shot right here of Miles Turner holding a gun gesture up in the air after making a three-point shot and facing the Cleveland crowd and the Cleveland bench, holding this gesture up in the air on May 13th of 2025. And so just take a look at that. The NBA will find this. They will have an issue with this. They will not have an issue with this. Double standards. And we will continue throughout this NBA process where if there is something seen of the gesture, we will point it out and continue to build on the series of the wink and bang, and that is that. Now, our next topic we're going to dive into, and for those of you know, I'm a big Spider-Man fan. Love Spider-Man. Favorite comic book hero, probably the best hero of all time for stories. Spider-Noir first crossed my radar in the Shattered Dimensions video game. Since then, he appeared in Into the Spider-Verse, and now he has his own TV show. And this is, in fact, a spin-off, a live-action spin-off of the Spider-Verse films with Spider-Noir. A 30-second trailer has dropped online along with this official still image from Amazon and Sony. This has dropped, and this looks really, really gritty and really old school noir awesomeness, in my opinion. Nothing much to say here outside of the fact we finally have something. We've had set photos for a year or so now. When were they going to release it? They are supposedly set to release this thing next year. And this looks like it's going to be really interesting to see Nicolas Cage don the hat, don the goggles, and whip bad guys and punch him old school style. Now, my question with all this is going to be, is this something that happens before we see him is this before we see him in the film Into the Spider-Verse, or is this after that? That is my one question with this here. I mean, either way, not much you can say here. It's Spider-Man, it's noir, and Amazon. This is actually not the first time Amazon has partnered with Sony for something comic book related. The Boys, big Prime show on that streaming platform. The Boys is a Sony-owned IP product. They own the production for that. If they want to make the Boys movie, they could. But they decide to make it a TV show with Amazon. Amazon distributes it. They help make it. And Sony says, thank you for the free money. We will just rake in that money. Thank you. Free money. Free. Thank you. Amazon essentially the same thing. Here's a Phil Lord and Chris Miller pitch for Spider-Noir TV series for Amazon. And this was also, by the way, this is not just an Amazon thing. This show was licensed out to different studios for the highest bidder, including Disney Plus. So imagine if this got on Disney Plus. All the hysteria of, this is an MCU thing. This is all connected. I mean, it very well could be. But in the meantime, Sony still plants its foot of, we are still independent. We are still our own studio. We are not run by everything Disney. And we have this working relationship with Amazon. So we're going to go ahead and give them the nod for them to make the show. And we'll rake in the bucks from them. From licensing fees and licensing deals. And with that, it's supposed to come out next year in 2026. But coming out next month, though, is Ironheart. Ironheart, upcoming TV show with this character we have followed last shown up in Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. And I believe her name is Reese Williams, or Riri Williams. Don't know much about her in the comics outside of like her introduction after the phase of Miles Morales being introduced back in the 2010s. So this is a relatively new character. What we do know about this show is that the long-awaited character of Mephisto is cast for this show. How Mephisto, of all people, is in an Ironheart show and not like a Agatha or a Doctor Strange or WandaVision show or movie? Who knows? Who knows? But one of the actors, and one of the things I am excited about is one of the actors in this TV show, and the apparent like one of the antagonists / mentoree, like close friends with Riri. I liked him in his portrayal and his performance in Transformers: Rise of the Beasts, with that movie that came out a few years ago. I think he acted great. He's got the chops, and there's just something likable about him when you see him on screen. So it's gonna be interesting to see him lick his chops about playing someone that we're not supposed to like or supposed to root for, and being the villain or so of the show. I was not excited. I wasn't overly excited when I heard about this show. And then the trailer drops. And what does a trailer supposed to do? It's supposed to take your expectation from where you had it and up it. And the expectations for the show got upped. And this looks pretty, really cool. Like even the armor, like formation itself, like assembling the armor on her hand, her legs, and then the drop down to the mask, hearing the sound effect, I'm like, yes, no, like for once in a while, we don't have nanotechnology. We don't have the nanotechnology stuff going on right now. Just good old fashioned metal plate hitting another metal piece of armor for that iconic thump when the mask comes on screen. Just the sound of that, like, just gave me goosebumps of old Marvel MCU. So looking forward to that for sure. And one of the things that will like make me queasy a bit is that this show has 6 episodes, and the first 3 are going to be dropped on the initial launch date. So Echo, which came out earlier last year, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say it was last year. Last year it came out, and every single episode was dropped, Netflix style, essentially. Folks are like, oh my goodness, yes, we're going to see how this works. And the show turned out to be utter garbage. So, does this mean the show's going to be utter garbage? I don't know. Maybe. The show was supposed to come out in 23, like a year after Black Panther Wakanda Forever, but this film got delayed. This show got delayed and delayed and delayed one more time for finally a 2025 date. And with that, we will see how this works out. But I'm definitely tuning in for those first 3 episodes and see how it does, because the trailer got me hooked for sure. And now to close out the show, we're going to talk about this, and it's a really, really interesting one that came out a week or so ago. Is that YouTube? You may see some of these thumbnails on your feed when you're searching for films and whatnot. You may see some of these and wonder, hey, I just saw a trailer to Venom 3 and it had Spider-Man in it. Or I just saw a trailer to The Brave and the Bold, the new Batman movie. Or the Pirates of the Caribbean 6 with the female lead actress. The trailer's right there. And you quickly find out you've been hoodwinked, and it's not really it's not really a real trailer. And so YouTube isn't wasting any time with this, and they have came out swinging. According to Deadline, YouTube has taken action versus these particular YouTube channels that put out fake trailers. And here's another one right here from the Thunderbolts. This is not in the movie. Complete AI right there. That is not in the movie. That's not even the right type of costuming and coloring for Sentry in that film. And so it lays out the following. According to Deadline, is that this video giant has suspended ad revenue for the following: Screen Trailers and Royal Trailer, 2 alternative accounts run by creators behind Screen Culture and KH Studio. The decision to suspend the channels from its YouTube partner program follows a Deadline investigation that chronicled the scale and sophistication of fake movie trailers. Screen Culture and KH Studio were suspended in March. They are 2 of the most prolific purveyors of concept trailers, which rely heavily on AI and drive engagement. In some cases, fool users into believing the videos are authentic and pretty much real. And so this article just goes on and on and on about it. And that in particular right here, with YouTube saying in a statement, our enforcement decisions, including suspensions from the YouTube Partners Program, which is essentially code for if you're in this program, you can make money off of your YouTube, potentially. Apply to all channels that may be owned or operated by the impacted creator. Screen Culture has over 1.4 million subscribers, while its alternate account, Screen Trailers, has about 33,000 followers. KH Studio has about 724,000 subs, while Royal Trailer boasts about 153,000 followers. This is one of the things that gets brought up with me And I remember, and I know some people at my work, and my dad, and others in my family are like, "Did you see this trailer? It was awesome. How could you not see it? You're the one that's first breaking on." I'm like, whoa. Time out. What trailer are we talking about here? Because there are some that I miss. What trailer are you talking about? The new Batman Brave and the Bold movie with what's his name from The Accountant or that Amazon show. Okay, let me look it up. DC, YouTube, Batman Brave and the Bold. There's nothing there. You look it up and you see a trailer, and then you realize who it's by. Now, there are trailers. There are YouTube channels, like Joe Blow is a good example, where they will, in AMC theaters, there are outlets out there. IMAX is another great example of this, where the studio will release their trailer to a movie to their own channels, and then subsequent channels will share the video as well. Joe Blow, AMC Theaters, Regal, Movie Pass, you name it. Like particular theater chains or other YouTube channels like Joe Blow, for example. And then IMAX will show the IMAX version of the trailer on their YouTube channel. And so for folks to be fooled by the plethora of trailers like these right here, it's sad. For the average viewer, I understand how someone can get fooled. Because you look at it, you look at the thumbnail, and you're thinking, "Oh my God, this looks so intense and real. This looks so legit." It does look legit sometimes. It looks cool. But you gotta do your research still on these things. Read the titles. Read what channel it's coming from. Go to the studio's actual channels and verify it yourself about particular trailers that are out. Go to their channels and verify it yourself. Every time a new trailer comes out, I am watching that video directly. I am searching that video first and foremost on the particular studio's YouTube channel, because one, they're going to have the better quality for viewership, and two, I will know that it's real, and they will get the view and not the bogus one. And so there are some out there that want to say, why not just ban the channels outright? Why not just ban the channels outright? Because then they will take their AI related stuff and find ways to make their own, make new channels and make more ways to make these more legit trailers to fool people. You take away the ad revenue, you take away the revenue, you take away all sources of income for these folks, and you're left with a situation where they're not inclined to make fake movie trailers now, because there's no incentive anymore. And so with that, it's just one of these. For me, as someone that is very well keen on these particular things, it's one of those things where it's like, I feel bad and I don't feel bad when someone gets fooled by these fake trailers. There are moments where I have to sit down with them and I had to show them where this is not true, this is false. Here's the proof, and here's how you can tell it's not true going forward. And then there are certain things where it's like, hey, let them hold, hey, freedom of speech. A channel can, you can search on this channel Star Wars: The Old Republic. I made a trailer to a Star Wars Old Republic movie. I know it's fake. It's a fan-made trailer. Do I put on their official trailer? No. Do I put on their Lucasfilm made trailer? No. It's my channel. It's a fan trailer, and I just put it together for fun. You can put together a trailer for fun and not have an issue with it because it's for fun. Like, that's one of the reasons we love YouTube and these other online outlets for video making. It's because we like to stretch out our creative, like, we like to put our creative bone to use. We like to stretch our creative muscles of what we can do. And potentially there are situations where if you create something really cool, you can catch the eye of certain folks in Hollywood. Perfect example is this. I do not remember the guy's name, but before it was ever a thing, no one had ever whiffed at the idea of a Power Rangers movie years ago. Then this guy puts together a fan-made trailer and a fan-made movie of Power Rangers, and it's like a gritty Power Rangers meets John Wick meets Transformers and Pacific Rim. All those three meshed in a blender, and you have that particular film. That was an amazing experience, and it caught the eye of many studios in Hollywood, wondering, that got a lot of good reaction. Let's bring this guy in for consulting purposes. Or, look what they did with such a small, minuscule YouTube budget. What can we do with millions of dollars as a movie studio and capture some of that magic and present it to the audiences in a more impactful way? It's just one of those things where, it's just one of those things. And with that, we will close out the show right there. And thank you for tuning in for this particular episode of Cast It to the King. My name is Joshua Mickle. And until next time, guys, keep kicking it to the king, baby.